Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode, the episode number 34 of the NFC East Show. And we're here and we're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Northeast Streaming Sports Network, and Zodiac TV. As always, I'm the Philly sports guy. With us, we got, next to me, we got Pork Rind from the Washington football team and True Blue from the Dallas Cowboys. Sneaky will be joining us shortly. He had some family in town this week, so we're not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not. But if he can, he'll be coming on with us as quickly as he can. And in the meantime, another week in the books. We had a big win.
And like always, we had a loss.
It gets hard saying that over and over and over again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I saw something the last 3 years after 8 games, we've been 1-7, 2-6, and 2-6. So yeah, it's not good.
Wow.
Not good.
So let's start with you. What happened? What happened this past week?
Oh man, same. Different week, same story. Tyler Heineke giving up bad sacks, bad decisions, and inaccurate throws. He had one pass. What was it? We had one long pass to DeAndre Carter for a touchdown. That was his only completion out of the 5 attempts for long ball. And then he had 7 completions. 7 completions converted that were longer than 5 yards, I believe is what it was. So it was not good. It was not good. A lot of screens.
And it's a shame because, you got McLaurin out there who is.
Yeah, and he finished with 3 receptions, 23 yards.
Wow. Yeah, I know, because I have him on my fantasy teams.
Yeah,
because he's one of my favorite. Yeah, he's actually a fantastic receiver, and it's a shame that they don't have anybody who's throwing him the ball at all. Is the offensive line not doing their job? Does Heineke not have enough time? Is he just not throwing through his progressions?
So the offensive line has been actually playing pretty solid. Unfortunately, we lost our center Chase Roullier to a broken fibula, so he's out for the season. So that definitely hurt. He was the anchor of the offense, Mr. Consistency, and we've got Charles Leno. We've got a pretty decent line. We are beat up. Brandon Sheriff was out. Sammy Cosby has been out too. So we do have kind of a makeshift offensive line right now. I feel like they've done pretty decent. They've all stepped up and they're holding their own. I don't know, man. Heineke's just not the answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, because interestingly enough, at the beginning of the season, I thought that Fitzpatrick wasn't the answer, and that Heineke would, if he was going to be able to do things, he was going to be the one that led you to the playoffs. So it's interesting. He played so well in that one playoff game, and took Tom Brady to the brink, and then just hasn't been able to recreate that.
And I will say, Heineke, I think that was his 8th start, so he is still learning as you go, but tough. It's been tough. It's so tough. That's why I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt, because I'm on vacation this week. I'm on a bye, so I'm going to enjoy this. We cannot lose this week that I know of.
But yeah, I mean, it's, hey, at least there you can't lose.
Cannot
And
lose.
then so going over to Dallas,
What's up, buddy?
what happened? Why didn't Dak play?
They were just taking precautions, more precautionary tales on the calf. That is the same calf that is connected to the broken ankle of last year. So with everything being, with the record being where it was at, everything else, they just took precaution and said that, we'll go ahead and sit them out, see what we do this week and see how it goes. And with the win this week, they're looking at the same route for this coming Sunday, saying, hey, should we go ahead and rest Dak up, let him heal a little bit more? If he's up to it, we'll see. But tomorrow being Thursday, they're going to be going to practice and they're going to be looking at, to see how he feels, see what comes about. And if he's feeling good, they're going to go from there. But I mean, it's more than likely going to be a game time decision based upon how Dak is feeling. And plus what the, team is, the coach and more the physicians than them saying anything, is going to lead to them making that decision.
Got you. So it's possible he's not going to play again this week.
It's very possible that he might not play this week.
Are they just tempting fate? That they're saying, "Hey, we're so far ahead in the division that we can take a loss."
I think it's a mixture of both that and to see what Cooper Rush has as a backup quarterback, and to see how the Dallas Cowboys as a whole will respond with what's going on right now. And as you can see from this past week's game, they responded very well. So they might just go down that same avenue to see, can we go 2 for 2 with our backup quarterback?
Well, and not for nothing. I mean, again, playing Cousins in a week that he's got a primetime game. I mean, Pork Rind knows enough about that. He just doesn't win them. He just doesn't win them.
Correct.
So the fact that it was that, I mean, you guys got Denver this week. I guess they're not coming. It's not coming far east. I mean, it's a noon game. So I guess it's somewhere around like a 10 o'clock game for them.
11. It would be an 11 o'clock.
Even with the hour change, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. So, I mean, literally, it's not that big of a deal for them to come out and play that early. They're having their own problems right now, it seems.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, it's possible that you could get out there and, somebody said the stat, it's the first time ever that somebody named Cooper threw it to somebody named Cooper. Yeah, first name to last name or whatever it is. It's the stats that are being surmounted now coming in, to the league. Is last year it was Andy Dalton to Dalton Schultz, right? You got Cooper Rush to Amari Cooper. It's like, what next stat are we going to come up with? Well, I can't answer that question because until you get a guy that last name is Dak. You know what I mean? Then, because I don't know of anybody else who actually runs into those issues. But I guess because I mean, who's really looking at the stats? Who knows if anybody? I mean, I guess there wasn't really many people named Cooper.
Yeah,
the first name Cooper back in the 50s and 40s and 30s.
Well, it goes, like Mike White for the Jets this weekend. His stuff is now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's the jersey and stuff for what he accomplished this week. So it's those kind of stats that are just starting to make heads way. So that's why I say, who else? What else are they going to come up with? Are they going to take Cooper Rush's and Amari Cooper's jersey and put them in the Hall of Fame for, just put them up there because it's the first time that's ever happened? I mean,
they didn't do it with Dalton and Dalton
we know of for now.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a little late. I mean, and I'll be honest. What was the funny meme that I saw that
there's a bunch of them.
If you put Cooper Rush and Dalton in a lineup, they may choose the wrong guy to get to arrest.
That's very true
because they kind of look alike.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, But that's kind of the way that goes a little bit. The Giants have that same situation where Eli Manning and Danny Dimes both look the same. So
who knew that one?
But we had a big win.
Yes, you did,
and it looked great. We threw for like maybe 100 yards, but we ran the ball like 50 times.
Wow.
Which is something that we never do because we don't ever run the ball at all. It's amazing how the pendulum swings. We don't run the ball. We run the ball 3 times in a game. We run the ball 50 times in a game, and that's the way that works. So,
I can see that. And the overall, what did y'all get rushing? How many yards?
250 plus yards.
Wow.
3 running backs, 2 running backs.
3 running backs,
wow.
and the quarterback, obviously.
Wow.
So I think that Gainwell got maybe 1 or 2 carries. He didn't really do a lot, but it was mostly Boston Scott and Dwight Howard.
Oh, okay.
To his, like I said, I'm glad to see him back on there because he looks just like how he left off last year and a couple years ago. He just carries people.
Yeah.
When they win. So you want to say bye, sweetheart? My daughter just leaving, so I had.
There you go.
Yeah. Quick.
During the day events on Sunday, I was paying attention to your post on social media, and I could see, I can see the vibe that was going on there, not just with you, but with the fans of Detroit. And I can see
they are a very frustrated group.
Yeah,
they are a very frustrated group. First off, the stadium was about 2/3 full, so there really was a third of it. Maybe even only like 3/5 full. It was a little more than half. Is kind of what I'm getting at. And it's just. It looked like the first drive they were able to do something and stop us. And then after that, it just didn't go very well. And similar to what you're saying, Pork Rind. Goff only throws for 6 or 7 yards. That's and the tight end's the only guy making any catches. You know what I mean? So
that's the problem that we have because we're playing with a backup tight end too. Logan Thomas is out, so. We're missing some key pieces on offense. I'm not saying that, who knows? We haven't had our entire, Curtis Samuel hasn't played with Logan Thomas yet. So, who knows what that offense is going to look like when everybody does get back.
Well, yeah, that's – obviously I'm okay with you guys losing, but sure I would much rather us all play better, play well. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Obviously, I would rather you guys stink while we're about to play you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So and not get on like a hot streak because ultimately, again, this is how the pendulum swings. I think the pendulum is going to start to swing back, and you guys are going to start winning some games.
That's right. That's what's happened. Last season. We started out 2-6, and then we got hot and ended up 5-3 in the last. Yeah, so
to get 7 wins altogether.
Yep. So what is the word going around Washington as far as quarterbacks? Is there any look to make a move or?
He's sticking with Heineke for the time being. So.
Wow.
Who's your backup?
Our backup is Kyle Allen from Carolina. We pretty much had Heineke and Allen from Carolina.
Come from Rivera, right?
Yeah. The only one we're missing is Cam. So and everybody wants Cam.
Really?
Dude.
Just because you want something better than what you've got, you need a different look, and you don't trust what you have anymore. So
and I don't know if Cam's the answer. I don't know if he's. I don't know. I'll get blasted right now if I say Cam's not the answer because everybody on Twitter.
Well, that's. If you sincerely believe that Cam's not the answer, I think you would be better to stand and make that decision and say, hey, he's not the answer. Because in my opinion, I don't see Ron Rivera going after Cam Newton, and I think it's mutual that, I believe he does want a job, but I don't believe that the opportunity's there.
Right. And if Ron truly believed in him, he would already pull the trigger.
Exactly.
So
I think fans, have to have an understanding. I understand the misery and everything else that comes along with what's going on, but you have to take a step back and say, you know what, guys, this isn't going to happen. So you might as well not even be thinking about it because it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. The one thing I wish we would do is send that kicker back to UPS. Oh my gosh.
What's he
doing? Not doing so hot, kicking the ball.
All right. So last week he went 2 for 3 with 2 blocks.
Oh my goodness.
And then, so I think the first 4 field goals that he's attempted, 3 out of the 4 have been blocked.
Blocked.
Because
he's kicking them too low.
Too low.
Got you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Too low. Actually, I think one of them last week hit one of our offensive linemen's helmet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, after it hits the helmet and it still goes forward, and it goes over, does it count?
Well, it's funny that you said, because last week it actually bounced. It was the first week. It was 2 weeks ago. It bounced the ground so hard that it hit the crossbar and then went through. I think that should count for at least a 1.5, maybe.
Hey, well, I did see the Philly sports guy in Orlando kick a couple of field goals during the. So
I think burgundy and gold might be your color.
Hey, listen, if they're going to pay me, I'll come down there. I'll wear the Eagles shirt. I'll wear the Eagles shirt underneath. Yeah. I'll take a couple $100,000 to kick some extra points.
Hey.
I can kick them up high.
I can do exactly what this guy's doing at the age of 41. Man, probably not, but sounds good.
Well,
hey, what was his name? What was his name that did it to the age of like 48?
Was it Vinatieri?
No. Well, he's one of them. Mort Anderson.
Yeah, Morton.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one more play this week that was a little bit more strange than the one you're talking about. It happened, of course, on Sunday night. The play happened when it was a roll check to the right, and the ball was tipped coming out of Cooper Rush's hands, and the center caught it and then passed it off to the tight end and gained 4 to 5 yards off of that play, which was legal. Because
the center caught the ball and then pitched it.
He pitched it while running with it. Yeah. Okay. So it was tipped. He possessed it. He passed it right immediately to the tight end, and the tight end picked up some yards.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
That's a play that's like a little bit of a funny play. I finally got to see, I remember hearing about the double punt, but I finally got to see the play today. And I actually watched an analyzation of the play. And truth of the matter is that they threw the flag for the wrong penalty because there were guys downfield.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what the flag should have been. They picked that, but because they didn't throw the flag for that, they couldn't throw a flag after the fact.
Correct.
They can only throw that flag after the fact if there's a targeting penalty or if there's an outside if the quarterback's inside or outside the pocket. When they go to a review or something like that, they're not allowed to call a different penalty on what that was. So that was the reason why it was legal. It probably was an illegal play after watching it and seeing it like from the top down, where you can say, okay, this guy was behind in front of the line. This guy was in front of the line. Mostly because they started running when he started running, and then he positioned himself and then punted the ball away. So. To the letter of the law, in terms of the punt was a good punt. However, the play was illegal just because of the guys running downfield. That all being said, that's what makes the NFL a little bit fun when you have like goofy plays like that.
Yeah, and of course he's known as Dicker the Kicker, and he attended here at the University of Texas, and his brother's actually a punter here now. So, he's one hell of a punter.
See, now I thought it would have been a lot more interesting if the center kept the ball and just ran with the ball. You know what I mean? The bumbling, stumbling, fumbling type play.
Oh, it was hilarious watching it live. I was like, whoa, that big boy's going to run. Nope, he just passed it off.
See, there's more people out there for Fitzmagic. You got the beard going on.
That's because he shaved it.
So yeah, well, like I said, the last time I had seen him before last week, he was clean shaven.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying his is growing faster than yours.
Oh, mine I keep trimmed.
Yeah, well, and I can see that the gray's coming back.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's definitely coming back.
Real quick.
Real quick. Yeah. The stress that's going along with my job is just carrying over.
Well, at least you don't have any stress from your football team like we do. So.
Thank goodness for right now.
And of course, to talk a little bit about the Giants, I mean, they actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah, very good game.
I thought that they were going to actually pull it out, but they're the Giants, and they, they did what they do best.
And as Sneaky would say, I let the game speak for itself.
Exactly. I was surprised that they kept it as close as they did. You could definitely tell that they're having some issues in Kansas City to not score that many points.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have thought that they would have had like 30, 35, but I think that he's starting to really push, and because he's pushing, it's not working out for Mahomes.
Yeah.
Correct. It's just really he's trying to force issues, and in the process of forcing those issues, it's just not working.
Yeah, and that's what comes along with the desperation of not winning when you should be winning. You start alluding to those little plays, and you start trying to outdo your own self, and that's not. Again, it's not. It shouldn't happen. You shouldn't push yourself that way.
Right.
I blame his brother for the TikTok videos prior to the games.
You know what? Not for nothing. I wouldn't be surprised that doesn't have a little bit of play in there in the middle. I mean, first off, that guy, excuse my language, is an asshole. His brother is an asshole, and I think he's trying to be like Juju and be funny, but he's not funny at all, and they're not even good videos.
No, they're
not.
I'm lost. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Exactly.
Oh.
So this guy, I mean, Mahomes' brother, he did like a dance on friggin'
So he does TikTok videos on the sidelines pregame, and it's of dances or whatever, like TikTok dances or whatever. So he actually, the week that we were honoring Sean Taylor by retiring his number, they had it gated off. They had 21 painted on the sidelines. They had it gated off. Supposedly, I mean, they've got pictures of him actually dancing on it, but supposedly he was told to stand in that little area. So he didn't realize what he was doing at the time. So a lot of people gave him crap for it. But I mean, if he was told to stand there, I mean, shame on the security for telling him to stand in there.
Yeah.
But
he did, and he did. He was inside there,
Right.
He like it. But I mean, how is it that you don't know?
Yeah.
Like, how is that you don't know? Like, I think that was, I mean, there was a lot of things that went wrong with that.
Yeah.
First being, hey, listen, you want to go dance on the sideline, do whatever you want to do. They got that gated off for a reason, obviously.
He did it for attention.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there's no such thing as bad attention when you're going on to those types of platforms. I mean, I'm sure that video got millions and millions of views. You know what Absolutely. I mean? And and me calling him an asshole don't make a shit. Let me watch my language. I'm starting to curse. Don't make any difference whatsoever in terms of me saying how he is, because ultimately me saying that makes somebody else go, really? Is that what he did? Go look at the video. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
well, I can see that. I can see that now. But
that.
Yeah, karma does come back on those who want it.
Yep. So and so I wouldn't be surprised if that hasn't come back a little bit. You know what I mean? And hit them. You know what I mean? So, hey. Plus, I liked Andy Reid while he was here. I'm glad he won one Super Bowl. I don't need to see him win another one. You know what I mean?
Or being one. No,
Right.
I'm kidding.
Right.
I don't see them getting back this year. That's for sure.
I was told to give a message from Sneaky that he said, and I quote, Dallas sucks. So
I like this guy Sneaky.
so moving forward here, obviously we're halfway through. Obviously, you guys got one more game before you guys turn to 8. You get your 8th game in. Moving forward, how do you see the rest of the season ending out? I mean, I'm 3-5, 2-6, and 6-1. Let's start with you there, True, because you're the one with the big lead on us all.
I think again we're going to be a little bit caution with Dak going into this week and even actually going forward a little bit more, because the following game I believe we have Atlanta, and that's another team that's coming into our house. So he's had 3 weeks of rest and he's out there right now. And again, that was a leg that was injured, so we it could go forward. But after that, we've got some road games, and I'm thinking, we're going to be, we're going to win a couple of more, of course, but I think we're really going to start to see what we're made of around week 13. I think week 13, we're going to see where we're at. I mean, by then, we might be able to clinch the division by then. So it's going to be a telltale sign of how many wins we get in and how many losses are in the NFC East in order to shore up that NFC championship. But we have to wait until then. I don't want to make any – I'm not crazy. I'm not going to be spouting the S word, the SB word. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's 1 week at a time.
That's what I love about you, Matt. You just, there are some Cowboy fans in this 757 area code that every year Super Bowl. Every year.
Well, not only that. I mean, like I said, I was talking to somebody today. I wasn't talking to him. He just was spouting off at the mouth at me on my TikTok. And of course, he was a Cowboys fan. And he's like, hey, man, you just love traveling and collecting those L's. And I'm like, you know what? I go to every game and I support my team, good or bad. Unlike most of the Cowboys fans who go hiding when they're bad, and then only come out when they're bandwagon good. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So they're bandwagon cockroaches, Cowboys fans. You, however, are not that guy. So out of all the Cowboys, that's why I said most, because I know of one who is not that way. And I know of a couple of other ones. There are a few Cowboy fans out there that are going to stand behind their team come hell or high water,
There's and it's every team. Every team does it. All 32. There's fans from all crosswalks of earth. But the thing is when you appreciate the game, you have to understand the emotions that everyone else has to go through. So we've all been there. It's all sucked for us at one time. Hell, we're on a 27-year drought, and teams get thirsty after a while, and you do take a step back and you say, okay, what do we have to do to win this thing? And I think, like I've said since the very beginning, I think Jerry Jones has finally understood where he's at, what it's going to take, that he's taken a step back and he's saying, you know what, let's let these guys do what they do and let us get a championship this way, whatever it takes. I'm going to take 2 steps back and let's see what comes forth. And I think it's been good for the organization. I think it's been great for our coaches, and I think it's been great for our players.
Yeah, no, it definitely has.
Well, and so rewinding about, I guess, almost 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when you got McCarthy as the coach. And I remember him sitting up there looking like Chris Farley with that jacket on, like he was a hot dog in the casing, just looking up there like and he left Green Bay inauspiciously. You know what I mean? That things started to go south for him out there. What do you think that he's done differently that has allowed the Cowboys? I mean, obviously, he didn't have a good season last year, but you can blame that on a lot of different things: COVID, no practices, all those things. Yeah, Dak not being there and such like that.
I'm gonna say the thing that I've noticed the most about it is that Coach McCarthy, he's actually taken he has taken a step back himself and let the coordinators coach and call the plays on the defensive side, because Quinn was a head coach himself. He's given them the respect that he needs, and he says, you know what, you run our defense. But also that first year with Kellen Moore, he was like, well, I better keep my eye on him. I got to keep a hand on him. Even last year, seeing the plays that were resulting, I think this year he's taken that step back. He's loosened the reins a little bit, and he's given these coaches more leeway, and he's seeing the type of turnouts, and it's given him more flexibility to see what's going on the field instead of, sitting there with the defense and sitting there with the offense and walking up to them, besides checking up on them and not talking to them exactly what they need to do. He's relying more on the coordinators, and you can actually see that on the field, because I don't see him walking to the benches anymore. I see him there looking forward, looking at the game clock, looking at the referees, getting involved with the referees, because that's another story in itself. But it's one of those things where I think he's actually taken a step back, relying on the coordinators that he's got and the coaches that he's got and the players that he's got, and he says, I can coach now.
So to expand on that a little bit, I've noticed, and you could almost go across the board here a little bit, that it seems that defensive coordinators who have become coaches typically last a few years and then fall out, and then typically will go back to being a coordinator. It gives them some of the knowledge about how to actually run an entire team. But the last few Super Bowls that were won by coaching groups that have multiple head coaches or previous head coaches that are in the mix. And as a whole situation right now, it seems like that the offensive coordinating head coaches are doing much better than the defensive ones, not just only in our division, but really NFL wide. Do you have any idea on why that might be? Why is it seem that offense? I mean, I know that we're an offensive league but defense wins championships. That's what we've been told, and that's what still is true. It still is true. And ultimately, like I said, it was defense last year that won. And I know that Brady scored some points, but it was defense that won that. And Mahomes was still suffering from a concussion. I mean, I fully believe that. Yeah, but he was still slinging it.
Line too.
Well, and he was still slinging it. He was hitting guys in the hands and in the head and stuff like that, and they weren't catching the balls. So, I mean, because we watched it there in Tampa. So we were front and center on that, watching that whole thing happen. But
I'm going to go to looking at the way that the league has gone and why the offensive coordinating side has gotten much better. First, it's the rules that have allowed the offense, to do what they do is what I mean by that. The defense is no longer allowed, the checking down the field to come across the middle of the field. It's just a whole range of things of what the league has done with the officiating that has allowed the offense to succeed. But you're starting to find out that the defensive coordinators are starting to adjust themselves and saying, hey, you know what? If A is going to happen, well, we've got to do B. And what I mean by that is that we're no longer gonna let them get the 5 yards that they need to get. We're gonna stop them right there on the line of scrimmage. We're gonna hold them back. We're gonna let them run their routes, but we're gonna make sure we cut them off. And if you look across the league, that's why there hasn't been that many long, that many 100-yard games from wide receivers. I mean, yeah, there is some. You're not going to stop everybody. But I think the defensive coordinators are trying to take away the long, deep threats. You don't see those deep threats. You don't see those bombs. And I remember last year was our worst. We had I don't even know how many plays over 25 plus yards in the air.
Yeah.
And we've taken that away. I mean, we have one or two, for 20 yards. But I think yes, the offensive coordinators are getting, but I think it's the officiating that has a big thing to do with it, from my perspective. And I just think, the offensive coordinator side is going to be succeeding. The coaches, but going back to the coaching staff that you were talking about, how the defensive coordinators who used to be head coaches, you're correct in that statement that they know what it takes to lead a team, how hard it is. So they don't have to worry about all, 52 guys. They just got to worry about their set of 20 defensive players, and they don't have to worry about what's going on the other side. It's just been a funny year. I think it's been a real funny year for both sides of the ball, for us, that is. And what I mean by that is it's been fun to see it, is what I mean. It's been fun to see them come out of their nest and come out of their shells and say, hey, you know what? We're here to play, and we're not going to hold anything back. And I mean, you're seeing that with our Micah Parsons. He was this week's defensive rookie of the week.
Well, and I feel that defensive schemes, and because I could speak to the same thing, that the one thing that the Eagles defense does done very well is taken away any big play. Now, thousands of short plays kill you when you're not giving up a big play. Doesn't matter, you know what I mean? So it's like, and that's that. So they've given up all those mid-range plays, and that's what's been killing us. The fact that we still can't get off the field. I mean, obviously we did it last week, but I can't take anything away from that win other than they didn't quit on the coach. That was the big deal. So that was the one thing that I was happy to take out of it, that they all played and they didn't stop playing. You know what I mean? That they just continued and continued. Obviously, it would have been nice to get the shutout. They got that last touchdown. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I guess you give it up a little bit once you've scored 44 points. But
true.
And it's just that's the one thing I can take out of. Now we're going up against a much different team this week in the Chargers, and I fully expect that the things that worked against Detroit's not going to work this week. They're going to, but I've noticed that if they put pressure on the quarterback, that we have succeeded, and they've done that in 3 games. In all 3 games we've won.
Yeah.
So now I want to think that Jimmy Johnson back in the day loved the blitz, and said man-to-man coverage, and you got to beat us, but you got to make sure you have the time for them to run their routes or throw up, because we're going to do man press. We're going to get your hands on it in those first couple yards.
Yep.
And that's because now that's what I feel like has been lost. The rule says that you could touch that guy within the first 5 yards, and you want to be able to get your hands on him anyways, just to be able to hold him for half a second.
Yep.
And you get that half a second, you get a blitz going on, and you start to pressure the quarterback. All of a sudden, now you've taken a half a second away. Now they need to get 5 seconds to be able to run those routes completely. And by that time, you should be at the quarterback.
Yep.
That's the thought process that I have. Now, they don't pay me anything to come up with that type of scheme. How is it that these defensive coordinators are not doing that? Or the ones that are succeeding? Obviously, I mean, you got the Rams that just traded for Von Miller. So now they've got the top 2 guys with sacks over the last 15 years.
Yep.
Yeah, that defense is going to be pretty nasty. That's for sure.
Well, it's like you're saying is what I was alluding to is that you've got defensive backs finally stepping up and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to hold you for your 5 yards. Try and contain you. I'm not going to say hold you. We're going to try and contain you for your 5 yards that we've got that's within the rule book, and then we're going to allow our defense to do what they do. And one of our weaknesses has been our interior line, defensive line. But if you notice how the linebackers are playing now, the linebackers are no longer these big brutes. They're guys who can play defensive back, linebacker, defensive end, big boys who can play with whichever part of the line they need to play. And I think that's key to it as well, as far as the defense is concerned with what the offense is doing, is having these guys in place that can have the skill set to play three positions if they need to, whether they need to drop back, whether they need to pursue, on the flat with the running back, or if they need to get in there and do a blitz. I mean, it's just one of those things. These players are just so good now. And if teams aren't picking up on that with the draft and everything else, then you're going to start to see yourself lose a little bit in these games.
Yeah. The thing that I liked that I saw out of the defense last week for us was, moving Landon Collins. I know we spoke about it last week, but moving Landon Collins to linebacker position. I mean, he probably had his best game last week against the Broncos. He had 1 sack. He played lights out. He had, I think, 3 or 4 tackles for a loss. But by far his best game in burgundy and gold.
Yep.
So, and it's interesting because I agree. I feel that the linebacker position is evolving. And, when I think about like, innovative defenses from back in the day when Buddy Ryan came up with the 4-6, and how that really is evolving now, where realistically it's almost like you're about to see a 3-6 or a 3-7, where the linebackers and cornerbacks are going to be really interchangeable. Yep. That these guys got to be like 2, 3 down backs all the time. That you're a linebacker and you got to be a cornerback. It's evolving into that type. So you need to be the big guy. You need to be able to kind of stop the run. You also need to be able to cover and have the speed. Well, like I said, big guys, they don't make big guys with speed that often. You know what I mean? You think about Henry. Henry's out now for the rest of the season because of a foot. But I tell you, watching him play, and then I get to see it a little bit with Jordan Howard. Obviously, I said Dwight Howard earlier. Jordan Howard, where he's just carrying guys with him. That type of guy is hard to find. And then try to find him, okay, usually when you have that type of guy, you want him on offense. You don't really have him on defense. Don't have like the Urlacher or the Butkuses or even the Jeremiah Trotters even. You know what I mean? Those are the types of guys but they also really were all, I'm going after the quarterback. And that's kind of what they were meant to do. And covering, like I said, Urlacher was okay at covering, but he was okay at covering slow tight ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put anybody a speed on him, he was going to get beat.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You look at those positions, I think you want, if you're going to have somebody that's big, that's a linebacker, you want them in that middle linebacker position to stuff that middle, to keep that middle, But the outside linebackers, those guys have to be exactly what you described: fast, big, able to stop the run, able to stop the check down, and able to stop the deep threat. I mean, it's evolved so much here in the past several years, and it's only going to get even more, I think, with the quickness of these guys coming out of college. So it's going to be a lot more fun on the defense coming into this draft.
Yes. Well, and thank God we have a lot of picks for this, because we need to fix our defense a little bit. But we may trade all our picks for, what's
the Georgia kid
from Seattle. No, not the Georgia kid. I mean, they got like their first quarterback that they're touting is probably going to be somewhere around pick 13.
Wow.
So that this isn't a quarterback draft, but this is a defense draft, and we need a lot to do for defense. So, all right. Well, let's go to our pick segment, and we're going to start off. Let's start off with the guy who's not here, since we didn't talk a lot about him. The Raiders that are 5-2 and actually in first place in the West, going up against the Giants at 2-6. The Raiders are coming off their bye week. The Giants are coming off of, giving Kansas City a game, but losing still. I have the over-under at, what is it at?
46.5, I think.
Okay.
And then I think it was 3.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oof.
3 and 46.5. Let's start with you, Pork Rind.
So I think it's going to be under. I say Raiders 27, G-Men 17. I think, Vegas traveling to the East Coast after a bye might start off a little slow. And then the news to Henry Ruggs, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, that hurts a lot.
Yeah. So, I definitely is Darren Waller good? Is he going to play or?
As of right now, let's see, because they waived him. He's not even going to be on the list.
Nah.
Well, Barkley is still out. And
What about tight end for the Raiders? Because I know Waller didn't play last.
He did not, but he's not listed on the injured list.
Yeah, that's what I say. Raiders 27-17.
27-17. True.
I think it's going to be around that same ballpark, and it's going to be under 24. 24-20.
24-20 Raiders.
Yeah.
I am going to go opposite of you guys. I actually think that the Giants are going to put it together this week. I think that the Raiders are a mess. This game is a 1:00 game. So it's that does fall into play. They do get the extra hour of sleep. However, I don't know that that's going to make a difference. I think that the Raiders are going to feel the effects of what's happening around them.
Very much so.
It's like they won those 2 games, then they had their bye week. And obviously the bye is going to help here, but I think that when you got somebody driving 150 miles an hour, I mean, it's just there's something else happening. He's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I don't even know. I didn't even know that a normal car could get up to 150 miles an hour.
That was a Corvette.
Corvette. Well, of course, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it wasn't really a normal car, but I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And you saw the car? Did you see what the car looked like?
It's sad situation, and I think, touching on that just a little bit, I think nobody can stop a grown man from doing what he wants to do, especially a rich grown man. But I think if they talk to you about money, they can talk to you about other things in life.
Yeah, I agree. But I definitely think it's going to be an under, though. And I got the Giants 20. I got the Raiders at 13.
That's a good one.
Next, we'll go to Cowboys at the Broncos.
Broncos at Cowboys.
Broncos at the Cowboys. Cowboys are 10-point favorite and 49.5. And I assume that is with Dak playing.
Yeah.
He's questionable, obviously.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little cautious here, and I'm going to say that he's not going to play. I think they're going to hold him out. Just from what the locals are saying, everybody I understand wants him to play. Everybody wants him in there, but you have to look at the season as an overall. But I think the Cowboys will win, and I do think it's not. I don't think it's going to be 49 points, but I do believe we'll be able to hold the Broncos. And it'll be around that same ballpark of what Pork Rind had said to the other game, 27-17 or so. 20. I'll say 20. I'll say 27-18. As funny as the score that sounds.
Yeah, it's not as funny anymore because they go after those points there. So
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say, even with your backup quarterback, I'm going to say Dallas 38, Denver 17. Dallas is rolling, man. I hate to admit it, and it kills me saying it, but Dallas is rolling, and they're looking pretty damn good. I'm a little jealous.
I have really two ways of going about this. If Dak plays, I think it goes over. If Dak doesn't play, I think it goes under, and that you guys are it's going to be a knockdown, drag out, very similar to what you guys had there. Maybe something. I mean, you guys were a tip away from losing that game.
Correct.
If Amari Cooper doesn't get that tipped ball, that's the end of that. You guys lose that game. So, but again, he made the catch, so that's that. My expectation is that I think that the Cowboys will win it. I think that Denver just does. I think Denver's in such disarray, but I think it's going to be like a 19-11 game. Like that's like again one of those funny scores.
Yeah.
That's going to be, just. I don't think Denver can put points on the board. I know that your defense. I don't think your defense is so great. But I think it's going to be good enough to be able to stop Denver from doing whatever it is they want to do. And I think that they're going to wind up winning that game. Much to my chagrin. And then because Washington has a bye.
Thank goodness.
So they are not going to lose this week.
Fingers crossed.
Let's go with the Eagles and Chargers. The Chargers are only a 1.5 point favorite with an over/under of 50. I'll start this one.
Is that there? Is that there or here?
It's in Philadelphia.
It's in Philadelphia.
I am going to say that I think that the Eagles are going to build off of what happened last week. And I think that this is the week that Gannon, like I said, I couldn't take much away from what was going on last week. But I think that Gannon is woken up a little bit and realizes now what he does have in comparison to what he doesn't have. And I think that they are going to pressure Herbert. And when Herbert does have pressure, he does not do well. Now, does that mean that we're going to score a lot of points? No, I definitely think the under 50, I think, is way high. So I think that this is going to be, again, like a 32-point game, 34, 5 points. I have us it's like a 23-13 game. That's really 36, but it might even be less than that, like a 23-10, 20-13. It's going to be around that range where I think the Eagles can pull it off. Again, that's if Gannon does what he does. If Gannon decides to be, hey, we're going to check down and play for the screen, the Chargers are going to kill us. So I'm going to say that Gannon steps up here a little bit and that we win this game. I said 23-13 is what I'll go with.
I think it's going to – I definitely think it's going to be under. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I was thinking 21-17 and Chargers, of course. And I'm going to say that it's going to come down to, the last drive. I think Justin Herbert's going to hit Keenan Allen for a touchdown, and they're going to win the game towards the final minute of the game.
I think the Eagles are going to take this one. As Philly said, they're coming off that win last week, and then Herbert just got exposed. Not Herbert. The Chargers got exposed last week. More so, we exposed them in week 2, but we more so last week were exposed more than ever. And then pressuring Herbert, I think the Eagles can get after him. And I think it will be a close game, but I do think the Eagles will prevail, and it's going to be somewhere in that 23-19 score.
All of us saying under, and 2 on the Eagles, 1 on the Chargers. I think you just got wishful thinking to try to, keep it close and for second place.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. Well, just think about this. You guys will be in third if the Giants lose, or last if the Giants win. So
I only think we're going to win 2 games out. So,
well, and what do you, and looking forward, where do you think that those games are going to get won?
I mean, and this is babies. I think we split with the Eagles, maybe, and we might get the second one against the Giants, maybe. But I don't see us beating Tampa, and there's no way that we're going to beat Cowboys. I hate saying it. God, I hate saying it.
So, it's interesting. I think that I've always said that our season never really begins until we play the Giants. And the fact that we're playing the Giants so late in the season this year is bothersome to me.
Yeah.
Because in most recent history past, it's been the Giants that have been the springboard that has catapulted us to doing really well. When you think of the Super Bowl season, we had a 61-yard field goal at the end of the game to win the game, and then we go on a 10-game winning streak after that. The next year, we finally go up against the Giants, and by beating the Giants, we win the next 4 games outright, all in the NFC East, and win the division. Last year, when we played the Giants, we started playing pretty well, and then we played the Giants again, and they beat us that game. So the fact that we don't play them for another 3 weeks is just like, oh my God! It's like, when is the season going to begin?
All right.
But I had us going 9-8 at the beginning of the season, and I didn't think that was going to be enough to make it into the playoffs. After seeing now that there's the haves and the have-nots in the NFL, at least in the NFC. You got 3 teams with 1 loss, and then you got a whole bunch of teams at 3-5 or 3-4.
Yep.
So I think as of right now that we are only a half a game out of the wild card spot, and the easiest schedule moving forward. So I kind of agree. I think that we can take 2 from you guys this year and pay you back for last year, on beating us both times.
Yep.
I still think that the Giants have some more proving to do. But I think that if their season's also going to begin when they play us. I feel like that they've got that circled. And if we can beat them in that first game up in New York, that will propel us to get our 9 wins. I have us beating both of you guys and the Giants. I think that we'll wind up winning against the Cowboys because I think that that'll be a rest date for you guys. Your bye was so early, and that I think that you guys will have the division locked up. That why would you play?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you'll have the number 1 seed, especially if you're not going to play Dak this week. As you continue to try to pile up the wins, you got to keep pace with the guys that have only lost 1 game, and even the ones that have lost 2 games. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's 2 teams with 1 loss. I guess there's 3 teams with 1 loss.
3, yeah.
Yeah, and 4. I'm sorry, 4. Because you have 1 loss. Green Bay's got 1 loss. The Rams and the Cardinals.
Yep.
And then you got Tampa Bay with only 2 losses.
2 losses. Yep.
So, I mean, there's so much not, the opposite of disparity here now, because there's so many wins up on that upper echelon that there is going to be a team that is going to be 9-8 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
So I initially didn't think that was going to be the case, but I think it might be the case. The only reason why I'd want to make the playoffs is for the guys that haven't been there yet to feel what it's like to be in the playoffs. And that's it. We're not going to go anywhere. We ain't Super Bowl bound. I ain't thinking about that at all. You know what I mean? But I'd like us to go. And interestingly enough, it would probably be against the Cowboys. I think that's how it's going to wind up. That we'll wind up playing the Cowboys. that it will be like the 7 seed or the 3 seed. Seven versus the 3.
Yeah.
Or
Play
6 versus the
back-to-back
3.
games.
Yep. Going from
I can
home
see
to
that
away.
too.
And I like it when that happens sometimes, when you get to play the same team 2 weeks in a row. Although the last time that happened against Dallas, they beat us both times. But I also kind of see how that would play out, where Dallas by losing that game, they get us again. And that might be a thought process to that.
Very well.
But we'll have to see. Again, we're talking way ahead. We got to win this week. I actually initially had this game as a loss, but I think maybe now we could actually win it. So that would take up for the Raiders. That would take up for the Raiders' loss that I thought we would win. So because we needed that win to get 9-8. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for hanging with us tonight. And as always, we'll be back next Wednesday talking about Week 10 and what happened in Week 9. But in the meantime, everybody, have a great week and go Birds!
Let's go Cowboys!
Go football!
Yeah.